Jeff Namney here, and this is my DBS video presentation. And I decided to do on how important it is to get your naming conventions right. And I read a lot of articles about it, and I found this one um, by codeproject.com. It's called Database Design and Name Conventions, and this guy breaks it down and you know tells you the do's and don'ts. And he makes some really good points as far as natural joins. He says are evil, and as you can see, as he has right here in this code, um, you don't know what he's talking about. As far as you get select person, the asterisk card from person card. It works as far as it joins. It actually joins, but you don't know what it's joining. And so he gives more examples of how it actually should be done. Like here, select person, asterisk card from person, then does an inner join card on card dot person underscore ID equals person underscore ID. Granted, we've been told that, try not to use underscores, use capital letters instead, which I agree with. But he does basically say, keep it basic and simple. You know, don't use like TV1 for table because it just doesn't work because you can get confused. Then he goes on to give other examples of, reuse column names. Every table gets a row identifier. And what I really like about this article is, he talks about it and then he gives a lot of examples, like this one where he says there's nothing worse than trying to enforce database constraints when the tables are joined against multiple columns for a single entity where parent row has a compound key. Here's our state, country, and still example when things get crazy. And he gives examples about it, and he explains, why you should do what you do, the things that he sees out in the industry, as far as the do's and don'ts. And as you can see here, it's very messy. But then he goes on down here, and you can simplify it as far as select country dot name as country, state dot name as state, country dot name as country from country, and there's an inner join for the state, and on state dot country ID equals country ID. This is much simpler way of writing your code than actually this up here just looks too messy and too confusing. Then he goes on to explain about the unique identifiers and primary keys, which I found very helpful. I wish I would have found this article a lot sooner because I think it would have helped me a lot better as far as trying to understand everything that goes on with the class we're having. But I would suggest taking the time to look at it, read the article, because I think you can get a lot out of it. And then he goes on to say, how primary keys should be on the unique data row. He just goes on and on about, how the relationships and how things should be laid out so it's a lot easier for you to understand.